Watch Rick Harrison confess all his evil deeds in court, from Pawn Star to killer. Rick Harrison, the name synonymous with Pawn Stars, was once seen as an icon of the American dream, a humble man who started with a small pawn shop in Las Vegas, yet through intelligence, determination, and a touch of luck, he built a reality TV empire that captivated audiences worldwide. With his authentic demeanor, humor, and impressive knowledge of antiques, Rick won the hearts of millions of viewers over the years. But the spotlight always casts shadows. And Rick Harrison's shadow, if the allegations are true, stretches far beyond anyone's imagination. A secret basement imprisoning children, a transnational human trafficking network, and worse, a murder plot orchestrated by the very man who seemed so harmless. From a beloved TV personality, Rick Harrison now faces horrific accusations, running a human trafficking ring, laundering money through his pawn business, and even being implicated in the death of a key witness who was allegedly preparing to expose this entire criminal network. This story is not just a shock to fans, but a wake-up call for society about what can lurk behind a glamorous facade. How could such a famous figure operate a criminal machine in the shadows for so long? What drove him to cross moral boundaries to protect his empire? And more profoundly, what does this case reveal about the dark underbelly of the entertainment industry and the global scourge of human trafficking? Join us as we embark on a journey to uncover Rick Harrison's dramatic fall, from the dazzling lights of Hollywood to the chilling corridors of a criminal basement. From the lighthearted episodes of Pawn Stars to a jaw-dropping courtroom confession and evidence that left America reeling. This is not just a scandal, it is a mirror reflecting society where good and evil can coexist within a single person. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Rick Harrison? A victim of a smear campaign or a criminal masquerading as a hero? From an American dream icon to a horrifying secret, Rick Harrison and his rise to fame. Rick Harrison, the man who kept millions of American viewers glued to their screens every night, was no movie star, singer, or politician. He was an ordinary man born in 1965 in Las Vegas, in a working-class family where life was never easy. His father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison, a stern Navy veteran, ran a small pawn shop with hopes of making ends meet. Rick grew up in that environment, surrounded by dusty old items, troublesome debtors, and tense negotiations right at the counter. From a young age, Rick showed he was no ordinary kid. He dropped out of high school in 10th grade due to epilepsy, but instead of giving up, he began helping his father at the pawn shop, a place that would later become the foundation for a global reality TV empire. In 1989, the Harrison family officially opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop on Las Vegas Boulevard. In its early days, the shop was just a regular trading post. Customers came in with old items, from vintage watches to rare paintings, hoping to trade them for a few $100s to pay bills or get through tough times. But Rick, with his sharp eye and keen analytical mind, gradually turned it into a treasure-hunting hub. He didn't just buy and sell, he told stories. Every item had a history, and Rick knew how to bring that history to life with captivating, knowledgeable explanations. Then, in 2009, a major turning point arrived. The History Channel decided to bring the daily life of the Harrison family's pawn shop to the screen with a show called Pawn Stars, and no one could have predicted it became a phenomenon. Pawn Stars quickly exploded in viewership. Audiences across America were hooked by the strange items, the stories behind them, and especially the unique personalities of the family members. Rick, intelligent and rational. Old Man, strict yet warm. Chumley, humorous and somewhat goofy. And Corey, Rick's son, caught between his father's shadow and his desire to prove himself. Rick Harrison swiftly became the face not only of Pawn Stars, but also of the image of the ordinary American succeeding through honest effort. He appeared on TV, gave interviews, wrote books, and was invited as a speaker, a living symbol of the American dream, from a poor kid in Las Vegas to a millionaire, collector, entrepreneur, and celebrity. But then the worst came from where no one expected, the very place where it all began, the pawn shop. Behind the friendly demeanor and captivating historical stories lay a secret none of us could have imagined. When the FBI suddenly raided the shop with a search warrant, they didn't just find shady financial records. They uncovered a hidden basement beneath the tiled floor, sparking a chain of events that shook public opinion and completely shattered the TV hero image Rick Harrison had built over nearly 2 decades. Horrific discovery and the trafficking network. The nightmare beneath the Pawn Stars. Basement, the day the FBI raided the gold and silver pawn shop was meticulously planned over months. They weren't just there to investigate tax fraud or money laundering. They were there to verify horrifying allegations made by an anonymous whistleblower. Allegations of a secret basement where Rick Harrison and his associates were suspected of holding children. At 3 a.m., the FBI's SWAT team moved in. Steel-plated doors at the back of the shop were quickly breached, and beneath the concrete tiled floor in the storage area, they found a small iron door cleverly disguised under a thick rug. Below it was a narrow staircase leading to hell. That basement, according to the FBI's official report, was unlike any detention facility ever found in a civilian business. There were over 20 makeshift iron cages containing rusty folding beds, dim light from old filament bulbs, and a suffocating stench. Over 300 children, mostly girls, were held in inhumane conditions. No sunlight, no sanitation, no escape. Some were as young as 6 years old. The identities of the victims revealed something even more terrifying. Many were missing persons from Central America, Southeast Asia, and even some cases from as far as Africa. They had been smuggled into the U.S. via sea routes or across the Mexican border, then vanished from the system. The FBI stated that many had no identification documents, no medical records, and had essentially been erased from the world. The investigation quickly expanded. Documents, computers, and hard drives seized from the basement and Harrison's office painted a comprehensive picture of a global criminal network where human trafficking was just one link. This was a sophisticated organization tied to other serious crimes, from smuggling rare antiques and high-grade drugs to trafficking illegal weapons through fake diplomatic channels. And Rick Harrison? The FBI alleges he was not just someone who turned a blind eye, but an active link in this network. Investigators found that the gold and silver pawn shop was used as a front to transport valuable items, from undocumented antiques and gemstones to people. By registering transactions worth tens of thousands of dollars as antique purchases, Harrison's group laundered money for trafficking organizations seamlessly for nearly a decade without detection. A series of shell companies were uncovered in Belize, Panama, and the Cayman Islands, all registered under names of minor figures who appeared fleetingly in Pawn Stars. These individuals, thought to be mere background actors, were actually key players in transferring money, goods, and sometimes people. Technology played a crucial role. Seized data showed Harrison's group used the dark web, the hidden part of the internet inaccessible to regular users, to conduct transactions. Encrypted chat rooms and cryptocurrencies like Monero or Zcash were used for deals. They weren't just skilled at selling on TV, they were experts at disappearing from legal radar. The FBI confirmed that Rick Harrison directly received payments from multiple accounts linked to internationally wanted trafficking organizations. Some payments were disguised as antique deposits, but in reality, they were fees for transporting children. In one instance, an $80,000 transfer was labeled as payment for Napoleon's pocket watch, but upon inspection, the item didn't exist. What stunned the public most was the duality of Rick Harrison. On TV, he was a lover of history, art, and heritage values. In real life, he was accused of being a key link in a transnational human trafficking network. The investigation is ongoing. But with what has been uncovered, from a basement holding over 300 children, international financial transaction maps, to digital traces on the dark web, authorities believe Rick Harrison will face a slew of federal criminal charges, including human trafficking, money laundering, transnational organized crime, and complicity in a cover-up murder. The truth had been buried in the darkness of that basement for years, and now it is slowly being brought to light. The murder and shocking confession. When Rick Harrison moved from the TV chair to the defendant's bench, the FBI's investigation, already earth-shattering with the discovery of the child-holding basement and the international trafficking network, didn't stop there. Another explosive revelation came, this time not about a business scheme or criminal ring, but a ruthless murder allegedly orchestrated by Rick Harrison himself. According to federal investigation files, the victim was a former employee who worked closely with Rick for nearly 7 years. Referred to as Sam in anonymized documents, this person had begun recording conversations, collecting evidence, and planning to expose Harrison's entire criminal network to the press. Sam knew too much, and that made him a target. In November 2023, Sam suddenly vanished. His body was found weeks later in an abandoned warehouse north of Las Vegas, showing signs of torture and deliberate elimination. Initially, police thought it was a random attack, but after closely examining the victim's messages, bank accounts, and call logs, one name appeared repeatedly: Rick Harrison. Investigation documents revealed that Harrison had communicated with a criminal consultant, believed to be a broker for assassination and witness elimination services in the criminal underworld. Their conversation, conducted via an encrypted app, discussed a permanent solution for Sam and included a $75,000 payment coded as special security services. The money was funneled through 3 shell companies in Panama before disappearing from the system. The investigation tightened its grip, facing overwhelming pressure from federal prosecutors. Rick Harrison, once the host of one of America's most successful reality TV shows, was forced to face the courtroom. And there, a shocking confession was recorded in the trial minutes, plunging the entire courtroom into eerie silence. When questioned by the prosecutor about his ties to the trafficking network, Rick Harrison didn't deny it. He even calmly recounted an unforgettable memory from a transaction in Guatemala. His words left the room breathless. "Yes, I once bought a woman for $100. She was 17. It was just business." Those words echoed like a direct blow to the millions who had trusted Rick as a symbol of the honest, hardworking American who rose from hardship. But the truth, as he himself admitted, was callous, cold, and stained with blood. There were no tears, no remorse. Only the hardened demeanor of someone who had gradually descended into a moral abyss in exchange for power and wealth. The confession sparked a firestorm on social media. The hashtag #NotMyPawnStar spread like wildfire, accompanied by thousands of furious comments from fans who once idolized Harrison. One person wrote, "We thought he was the last person we could trust in a world full of deceit. Turns out he was the devil hiding behind a smile." The media didn't stand on the sidelines. CNN, BBC, the New York Times, and nearly every major outlet put Rick Harrison on their front pages. Articles dug into his past, from secret vacations in Mexico to suspicious transactions with black market antique dealers. Each detail painted a picture entirely at odds with the man-of-the-people image Harrison had worked to build for 15 years. Some outlets even released a leaked security camera video from the basement, showing Rick speaking with one of the detained children, a clip that sent shockwaves across America. Rick Harrison's career, and the Pawn Star's image, once tied to the spirit of America, collapsed in an instant. But the biggest question remains unanswered. How many others were complicit with Harrison? How many other stars in the entertainment world are hiding similarly dark secrets? Impact on the public and the pawn industry. When an idol falls, trust is stolen. The Rick Harrison scandal didn't just rock the media, it triggered a profound psychological shock among the public, especially those who love Pawn Stars and saw Rick as a symbol of diligence, intelligence, and American success. In the days following the courtroom confession, social media was flooded with outrage. Platforms like Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook were inundated with posts expressing betrayal. One Twitter user wrote, "I've watched Pawn Stars since 2010. Rick was like the funny uncle everyone trusted. I can't believe he's a cold-blooded trafficker." Many admitted feeling ashamed for having supported and believed in a TV product, now exposed as deceitful and toxic. Discussions erupted not just about Harrison, but about a larger issue. Is reality TV ever truly real? Within a week, the phrase Pawn Stars scandal garnered over 10 million global searches. Old clips of the show were revisited, with every minor detail analyzed, from how Harrison interacted with customers to his sometimes controlling demeanor with other family members. Everything was now viewed with suspicion, as if the public was trying to uncover traces of the monster that had hidden too long beneath a benign facade. Meanwhile, the History Channel, which had aired Pawn Stars for over a decade, plunged into crisis. Within 2 weeks of the scandal, all episodes of Pawn Stars were removed from streaming platforms. Promotional content for the show was scrubbed from the official website. Major advertisers like Chevrolet, State Farm, and Amazon announced they were cutting ties with programming blocks related to Harrison or the show. A History Channel spokesperson gave a brief statement at a press conference. "We are shocked and heartbroken by the serious allegations against Rick Harrison. We are fully cooperating with investigative agencies and will reassess our entire content strategy moving forward." The channel's viewership plummeted, not just because of the scandal, but because public trust in the reality TV genre was deeply damaged. Pawn Stars, once seen as a family show, with 3 generations of Harrisons running a pawn shop, was now associated with greed, deception, and crime. The scandal's impact extended beyond television to the nationwide pawn industry. From New York to San Francisco, thousands of small pawn shops reported a noticeable drop in customers within weeks of the scandal. Customers feared these shops might also be fronts for illegal activities, as Harrison had used his. Honest pawn shop owners were put on the defensive. A Chicago shop owner told the press, "We run a legitimate business, follow the law, and pay our taxes." But now customers look at us with suspicion. We're bearing the consequences of one man's actions, a man who never should have been hailed as a hero. Public pressure forced lawmakers to act. Several states, including California, Texas, and Florida, proposed new bills to strengthen oversight of the pawn industry. The new regulations include mandatory enhanced customer identification, verification of pawned item origins, and increased coordination with federal agencies to prevent the industry from being exploited for money laundering or antique smuggling. Some lawmakers even suggested establishing a national oversight agency specifically for the pawn industry, an unprecedented move. The Rick Harrison case, in this way, didn't just destroy an icon. It forced an entire industry to reevaluate itself, reform, and protect a trust that was already fragile. Significance and lessons. When an idol falls, what must society reflect on? After all that has been revealed, from the horrific basement beneath the pawn shop to the chilling confession of buying a woman for $100, the Rick Harrison case is more than a personal scandal. It has become a stark warning for society, exposing the brutal contrast between a curated TV image and the dark reality hidden behind it. Rick Harrison was once the golden face of reality TV. People saw in him humor, intelligence, and diligence, a microcosm of the American dream, where the middle class could succeed through hard work. But behind the studio lights, the truth was an underground ecosystem of lies, human trafficking, and manipulation, where morality was traded for power and money. This story isn't just a moral shock for Pawn Stars fans. It raises a larger, more insidious issue: human trafficking. The over 300 children held in that basement are not an isolated case. They are part of the millions of victims worldwide, children sold, deceived, or forced from their homes to become commodities in a global black market. We often imagine human trafficking as something distant, happening in impoverished countries or through inaccessible underground networks. But the Harrison case reveals a chilling truth. Right in the heart of glamorous Las Vegas, within a TV show broadcast in over 150 countries, a criminal network could operate smoothly for years. And so, a painful question arises. How many more times will we be fooled by the glossy images of reality TV? How many stars, inspirational figures, or successful speakers are truly the people they portray on camera? The case forces the public to learn a costly lesson about trust. Trust doesn't mean blind faith. Trust doesn't mean unconditional admiration. In a world where images can be crafted, truth is sometimes distorted beyond recognition. What happens behind the scenes, whether in Hollywood, Las Vegas, or a pawn shop, is always far more complex than the story told. Reality TV, instead of being real, is now under scrutiny. Audiences once captivated by witty scenarios, fascinating antiques, and the Harrison family's friendliness are forced to admit perhaps they were emotionally manipulated. Perhaps the public's easy trust enabled figures like Harrison to conceal their crimes for years. Yet amid the skepticism and loss of faith, we must not forget the true victims. The over 300 children in the basement, souls whose childhoods were stolen, locked in darkness and fear. The greatest lesson society must learn is not just to avoid idolizing the wrong people, but to act to protect the most vulnerable. Humanitarian organizations, governments, and the global community need to strengthen psychological support and social reintegration for trafficking victims, while tightening laws and closely monitoring industries prone to exploitation, like pawn shops, labor brokerage, or transportation services. We can't eradicate all evil overnight, but we can make it harder for it to hide. As for Rick Harrison, his future is almost certainly sealed. With a litany of charges from organizing human trafficking and money laundering to suspected murder, he faces decades in prison, possibly a life sentence. But justice doesn't end with one conviction. The FBI has vowed to expand its investigation, tracing the entire international criminal network, where Harrison was just one link. The fight is long, but at least the truth has been brought to light. The Rick Harrison scandal is an indelible stain. But if we have the courage to face it, to question, to act, it could also be a turning point. A turning point where justice is no longer deceived by the glow of fame. When the truth emerges and light pierces the darkness. We've journeyed together through an unthinkable story, from the familiar image of Rick Harrison, the humble man behind the Pawn Stars counter, to the chilling truth uncovered by international investigations. Rick, the man who made millions laugh with his haggling, impressed with his vast knowledge, and endeared with his relatability, now faces accusations tied to crimes no one could imagine. Abasement. Over 300 children held captive, a trafficking network spanning borders, and the man the public once trusted is allegedly behind it all. You might be feeling shocked, betrayed. It's hard to accept that after all these years, the man with the kindly smile on TV has been exposed by a truth so cruel. But that's exactly why this story is more important than ever. It's not just one person's tragedy. It's a reminder. TV can create idols, but it's society, us, who grants them power. And sometimes that power is abused. Whether Rick Harrison is truly guilty, the courts will decide. But what has been uncovered, the exploited children, the money trails, the cold confessions, makes it impossible to turn away from the reality that human trafficking, silenced victims, and betrayed trust still exist in this world. It doesn't just happen in dark alleys or distant countries. Sometimes it happens right beneath the basement of a familiar shop, in the heart of America, amid bustling streets and dazzling lights. That's heartbreaking. But that's also why we need to be more awake, more vigilant, more compassionate, because behind every smile on TV, every crafted story for entertainment, there may lie a reality we haven't yet seen. And after every case like this, there will always be hundreds, even thousands of victims who need healing, listening, and help to reclaim their lives. So I dedicate these final moments not to outrage, but to inviting you to reflect and empathize. What do you think drove a man like Rick Harrison, if truly guilty, to fall so deeply into darkness? After scandals like this, can we still trust reality TV or public figures as we once did? And if you could do something small to help trafficking victims, would you be willing? Let us know how you feel. Leave a comment below, not just to share your opinion, but to add a voice of conscience in an era where truth is too easily distorted. If you found this video important, share it. And if you want to join us in exploring the forgotten shadows of society, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The truth always finds a way to emerge, and we're here to tell that story.